Critics of conscious hip hop tend to say it's too preachy, or it's too abrasive, or the beats weren't on point, or it's too this, or it's not enough that. On Common's fourth studio album, Like Water for Chocolate, not only would he silence the conscious hip hop critics, he would offer a much needed balance to the bling bling era that hip hop was evolving into at the time. Like Water for Chocolate will release in March of the year 2000. On the Like Water for Chocolate album, Common would bring funk, neo soul, a little bit of boom bap, all while touching on conscious topics and giving his fans not only a full meal, but also an updated version of Common since we last saw him on his One Day It All Makes Sense album in 1997. For the most part, Common since first half of his career will be considered as an underground MC. On his debut album, Can I Borrow a Dollar?, Common showed flashes of brilliance, but his style was still unpolished, but he did have some originality. He would get compared to an earlier Redman mixed with DOS effects. On Common's second album, you would see a huge shift in his style, and musically, he would craft some high level songs, and the album really felt like his version of Chicago. But by the time you reach the 1997's One Day It All Makes Sense, Common is bridging into a full-blown conscious MC while still heavy into lyricism. This album would show off a broad range of styles, topics, and really show how diverse Common is at this point in his career. Even though Common is well known for his consciousness, his real standout attribute is his battle-like delivery and style. Even if he's not referencing a particular MC, a lot of his flow is directed to MCs, almost like putting other MCs on notice that if you aren't paying attention to his music, he's still a fully capable lyricist. And that lyricism will start to blossom and be evident around the year 1996 when Common had the infamous battle with Ice Cube and Westside Connection. And then that lyricism would take another step when he went toe-to-toe with the best MC lyrically at the time, Cannabis, in 1997 on his album One Day It All Makes Sense. The beginnings and the actual foundation of Like Water for Chocolate actually begins in the mid-90s before Common's third album. After Q-Tip and Common attended a Vibe conference hosted by Quincy Jones, Common went back to Q-Tip's house. Jay Dilla was at Q-Tip's house on the same day. Dilla was digging through Q-Tip's extensive vinyl collection looking for samples. Common didn't know Jay Dilla at this time. Q-Tip played a bunch of Jay Dilla's beats, and right away Common thought the beats were incredible and really wanted to work with Dilla. Common got a beat tape from Dilla, and then later on down the road, Dilla flew out to Chicago, and the two would record music that was unreleased to this day. After recording music with Dilla, Common would start to map out the direction for his fourth album, Like Water for Chocolate. Around 1998 would be the first time Common would visit Jay Dilla in his hometown, Detroit. After numerous trips to Detroit, Common and Dilla would form a tight bond just through kicking it and vibing together. In 1998 and 1999 would prove to be huge years for Common. In 98 and 99, Common would be almost like a hired gun for Rawkus Records, an indie underground conscious hip hop label. Even though Common wasn't signed to Rawkus Records, he would almost be like a featured MC, lending vocals to Black Star's debut album, Soundbombing 2, and Pharoah Monch's debut album. All three verses were not only dope, but this would also pave the way and get Common fans excited for his next album. 1999 was also an important year for Common because this is the first time he's moving away from Chicago. Common flew to New York, and originally he said, I came out to New York with like 2 weeks worth of clothing, maybe less than that, thinking I was just going to stay for maybe 2 weeks. I never went back to Chicago. Coming to New York was like an opening for a new chapter and new creativity. New York would be where Common would lay the bulk of the recording for his fourth album, Like Water for Chocolate. The biggest transition for Common may not have necessarily been to actually move into New York, but it would be not doing music with legendary hip hop producer No ID. No ID would produce close to 90% of Common's first three albums. So this would be a departure from No ID and a new beginning for Common. Now, the mastermind and executive producer of Like Water for Chocolate would be Questlove, the legendary Roots member. Now, they did work together on Common's previous album, All Night Long, which was one of the best tracks on that album. So they would take that same synergy and bring it to Like Water for Chocolate. And the biggest key is this is almost like swapping out Common for Black Thought in the Roots group, because Common and Black Thought have similar conscious music. And now we get to hear Common on that similar type of sound with live instrumentation and a band backing Common's lyrics. So this was not only a perfect match, this would also show that Questlove can direct any MC when it comes to this type of music. This album would also introduce the Soulquarians, which is almost like the Avengers of neo soul, conscious hip hop, jazz, funk, R&B. Not only that, but this group actually recorded music in their prime. So this was a perfect segue into a new age of hip hop. The synergy for Like Water for Chocolate also was huge, because this was also around the time that D'Angelo was recording his album Voodoo and the Roots were recording their album Things Fall Apart. So all artists were in full music mode, recording on not only each individual's projects, but working on other artists' projects at the same time. A bulk of the album will be recorded at Electric Lady Studios, and the production mainly handled by Jay Dilla, Questlove, D'Angelo, James Poyser, and Kareem Riggins. One hip hop producer that sets itself away from every hip hop producer in the game. He gives you the signature sound, the signature beat that not only fits you as an MC, but fits your album. DJ Premier was able to land that signature Premier sound, but also it fit Common perfectly. This would be the last song recorded on Like Water for Chocolate, but it would almost be like the most important song. Common was always a huge fan of Gang Starr, which is Guru and DJ Premier as a group. Now, Common always wanted a DJ Premier song on his album, but it really wasn't the right time. If you know anything about DJ Premier, getting a beat from Premier, it has to be synergy. It has to be almost like perfect timing, because he knew it had to be funky. So when these two connected, not only was the time perfect, this was almost like a coming out party for Common, because this would be one of the biggest songs for Common to this day. There would be some key features on this album that would really take the album over the top. This album had some of the best features: D'Angelo, Jill Scott, Black Thought, MC Light, Mos Def, CeeLo, Slum Village, Vania Mojica, Rozelle, and Bilal. These features gave so much balance, so much credibility, and all the features really flow well and were perfect on this album. The cover art for Like Water for Chocolate was just as important as the musical content inside. The photo taken from what it was like to live in a segregated South in Alabama in 1956, shot by iconic photographer Gordon Parks, Common felt like this was a very important photo to have on his cover.
What I do is if I'm using somebody else's title, I try to put my own meaning to it at least. And for Like Water for Chocolate, I always was attracted to that title because it just it seemed like far left. It was coming from a different place. It made me want to comprehend it and try to understand what it was really saying. And I knew that my album was gonna come from a different angle. So I was like, I want to use this title, and the meaning I put to it off the bat was like the water represented the water sign in me, like the emotion. I'm a Pisces, so it was like the water was just there for me, and then the chocolate represented the soul, like the blackness in the music.
Time traveling opens the album and teleports the listener into a new age jazz bar. You can imagine a place with no AC, but the ice from your drink keeps you cool. Common's voice is distorted and he sits in between the beat and the drum pattern. Right off the bat, you know you've entered to an ever expanding hip hop world. This is also an ode and an appreciation to one of Common's favorite artists of all time, Fela Kuti, the father of Afrobeats. The most important songs on this album was the lead single, The Sixth Sense. Common really showed that he can deliver almost like a boom bap type of track, but with soul. Normally, DJ Premier provides the hook scratched in, but this time Bilal would lead his voice, and he would definitely take this track over the top as Common would weave in and out of conscious bars. Bilal would just lay the foundation and make this one of the standout songs on the album. The key features and one of the best tracks was the Slum Village assisted Thelonious on Like Water for Chocolate. This has an interesting backstory because with all the production that Dilla did on this album, Common really wanted to get a verse from J Dilla on this album.
We were working on Like Water for Chocolate, and I wanted Slum Village on that album. So I was like, man, I gotta get y'all on a joint, like Dilla making these beats. So I wanted them on this song called Funky For You. And we were at Studio A in Detroit, and T3 and By 10, God bless his soul, they were sitting there writing. And Dilla, he was like sitting around, and I was like, man, why ain't Dilla writing, man? Like, he don't like this. And he made the beat, like he made Funky For You. So I'm like, dang, what's up, Dilla? And he was looking like he was wanting to come up with something and trying to come up with something, but he didn't. So he went home that night and made the beat. But not only did he have the beat playing, he had the hook. Yeah, play at your own risk. Act like you know, bitch, I'm on some grown shit. It's the Thelonious, the super microphonist. Dilla, he would blast his beats, so I was like, man, whose beat is this? He was like, oh man, I just made it last night. What's up? You know, it's good. And I was like, yo, what's up? He's like, yeah, we should. He basically was like, yeah, let's rhyme to this. So he said, I was like, what's up? I'm good. He's like, yo, that's it. Let's go. If you want it, it's yours. And I was like, cool. And then he was like, yeah, I rhyme to this. Like, so that's what he.
There's just songs that really transcend not only hip hop but just music in general. The Light was one of the first songs recorded off Like Water for Chocolate, the second single off the album, and probably the most important song in Common's career. This song would catapult Common into the mainstream because this song would cross over to different boundaries in the music atmosphere. Because not only was this song upbeat, this was a perfect sample, and this was also a positive relationship song coming from hip hop because during this time there wasn't songs in this vein. So this song would really be one of Common's highlight songs of his career and one of the best songs on the album. The most important song on this album was the heartfelt A Song for Assata. Common would link up with CeeLo from the legendary group Goody Mob. This would be the second time Common and CeeLo have worked together, and they are definitely two for two because both songs they have been on together were extraordinary and full of consciousness. Assata Shakur was Tupac Shakur's godmother, Black Panther, Black liberation advocate, and a revolutionary who pretty much fled to Cuba to seek political asylum. This song was very powerful and is probably in Common's top three songs he's ever recorded.
First of all, I read the autobiography of Assata Shakur, and it was like, man, it touched me. It was like, dang, this woman went through all this stuff, and she still overcame it, and she free now, and she did a lot of it for us, for my people and just people abroad. It was like her struggle was just for people, and I was like, damn, it meant a lot to me. And then like I was like, man, I want people to hear this story because there's many other people that went through similar things. But I was like, I wanted people to hear the story, and I thought it would be something dope to do like a biography about somebody.
The album would end with Pop's Rap 3. This would continue a trend of ending Common's album with Lonnie Lynn Sr., which is Common's dad, a former ABA basketball player. Pop's wisdom on this song would be just as tall as his 6'7" frame and would be the perfect ending to a perfect album. Like Water for Chocolate would serve as a necessary balance that hip hop has always needed. Common is a reason true hip hop fans never complain about hardcore hip hop albums because you could purchase those same albums and also buy a Common album to balance your playlist. This album would only get better over time and would serve as a pinnacle album in hip hop history.